What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Puncher's Chance, episode number 3. With me, as always, Mr. Steven Hines. Steve, how you doing, man?
Doing great, bud. How are you doing today?
Doing good. We've got a fight card here. Now, a lot of people have been bashing it a little bit, and we were actually just talking about that before the show started. This is not your average pay-per-view fight card. This is not your average ESPN Plus fight card. This seems like a contender series fight card besides that main event, to be honest.
This is welcome to ESPN Plus. You know, I mean, there are a few high points that we probably won't get into. They're not really in high points. It's, you know, you got Alexi on the prelims, and he's a legend, so you're always going to watch that. But I mean, short of that, like it's really about the main event. Yeah. And even that, I think we'll get into that, but even that I think could have some struggles on its own. So,
well, and see, that's the thing with these. Yeah,
here we are.
With these ESPN Pluses, that's what people got to understand. With free content, with a small subscription to ESPN Plus, with free fights, I should say, you're going to get fight nights like this where you've got one fight that you really want to watch, so you can kind of tune in and out of these fights. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. And, man, do we have some names to pronounce on this fight card as well. We got Nasadine Imavov versus Mr. Phil Hawes to start us off on the night. You said it right before this. This is a basic pick'em fight. Like, the odds are literally within, a few points of each other.
Well, and no one's even a favorite. It's a minus 125 for Phil Hawes and a minus 105 for Nazdine. So, I mean, you're really at a straight pick'em, which two things. I mean, there's going to be probably not going to be a huge upset.
Yeah.
But it does have a potential. It's saying that these guys are both pretty evenly matched. Yeah. And we should get at least a decent fight out of it. That's the one thing you got to look forward to on these fight night cards is you're not going to always get Max Holloway. You're not going to get Connor. Yeah. You're not going to get a Tony Ferg. But you know what? Like, this is going to be a decent enough fight. So, I got Phil Hawes in this one just because it's easier to pronounce. So we'll go with that. When in doubt, buy American. So that's what we go with. Yeah.
I mean, here's the deal. I'm going to go opposite you here just for the hell of it, just because I was going to go Phil Hawes. But at this point, I mean, it's just too close to call. What I've been watching is Imavov he's fought better competition. He came up through the welterweights, so he's fought a little bit better competition there. But like you said, Phil is one of those guys that has KO power in his hands. He's somebody that, I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen in this fight. For that reason, I'll go opposite you just for fun. Just so you all know, checking that scorecard from last week, don't quote us on this. We did not do too great, but there was a lot of weird things happened in that last fight card. So hopefully this time, maybe if we pick against each other, we'll at least get a 50-50 shot of one of us doing pretty all right on this card.
Listen, one of us won that main event last week is all I'm going to say.
That is true. One of us did win that main event.
That's right.
Moving on, then we've got a legend in Alexi Olynyk versus Chris Dalkows. Now, Chris is one of those fighters who needs to start fast, especially against a veteran. Veteran like this, it's one of those things. When I was going back and watching some of Cowboys fights that he was competing really well in, not fights like the Conor McGregor fight, which is on a lot of people's minds right now. But the last couple fights that Cowboy was really in as an older veteran were fights that he lasted to the end of the second, beginning of the third rounds, and was still going strong. What these younger guys need to do, like Chris Dalkows, is come in there guns a-blazing right out the bat. He's a great combination puncher, which is one thing that I think that Olynyk is leery of since he got his face beaten. The last fight, actually, the main event on this card, Derek Lewis, now some people say it was an illegal shot to the back of the head that caused this entire brutal beating, but
Sure.
Alexi Olynyk is coming off a massive defeat, and it was it was body on the ground, ragdoll style beating from Derek Lewis. So in that case, he's going to look to bounce back. I'm going to go Chris Dalkows here. I just think the younger guy with his combinations, if he has the right game plan, is going to come out blazing. He'll land a couple of those combinations early, and down goes the vet.
Oh, see, I got the opposite. I got Olynyk all day in this fight.
Okay.
Short of that Derek Lewis beating that he took, and he did take a beating. There's no two ways about that. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Just when you think you've got him out, he's on the ground and you're in a knee bar tapping for your life. Like Alexi Olynyk is the guy who doesn't look like he should be a submission expert, but will choke you out without hesitation. I think that, like you say, Chris is going to come out strong, going to come out fast, going to throw a lot of big combination punches, probably going to rock Olynyk a little bit.
Yeah.
And Olynyk is one of those dudes that once you have him rocked, he's more dangerous than he is at the beginning of the fight.
Yeah.
So I got Olynyk in this one. I got him in a mid-third round submission.
Yeah, and see, veterans like that, they've got to last about, end of the second, beginning of the third, mid of the third. That's really going to be their sweet spots, going the distance. Once again, like we've talked about on this card, this is one of those kind of like pick 'em, because I honestly think that this could go either way. I know the experts, I think, are favoring Dalkows by a little bit, right?
Olynyk is a plus 150 right now.
Olynyk by a little bit, excuse me. Yeah, I knew there was just a small margin here. Also, Olynyk has a massive reach.
Yes.
It's stupid. I was looking at the side by side, and I mean, what is it, 80 inches, something crazy like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So it is going to be a very interesting fight. This is actually probably one of my fights to watch for this week, because I think this is going to be end up being a pretty good fight. Moving on, we got Charles Rosa versus Derek Minner. Now, this fight is getting a lot of flack online. A lot of people are saying, how in the living hell is this fight on this card? Listen, I mean, I get it, but like you said, on these ESPN Pluses, you're going to get some fights like this. Rosa has an incredible stand-up game. Minner is very inconsistent. He has very good performances where he looks like he can strike with the best of them, and then he looks like who Derek Minner is, which is he looks like he's an okay striker, not great on the ground. And honestly, both these guys are not very good on the ground. They're going to want to stand up and slug it out to the very end. They both, although Rosa had pretty good takedown defense in his last fight against a world-renowned grappler, I mean, they still don't want to be on the ground. They're both very uncomfortable. So I think this is going to go all the way to the distance. It's going to be a unanimous decision for whoever takes this fight, and it's going to be a slugfest till the end.
I got Minor in this one. I just feel like he's got a little bit more experience in some bigger fights. I think he's going to have the ability to kind of withstand some onslaught. And like you say, this is an ESPN Plus fight. This is the definition of an ESPN Plus fight.
Exactly.
And like my wife and I, we watch some fights, and she'll come home or whatever, and they'll be on it. And sometimes we get spoiled, she'll just watch this and go, this is not a great fight. And I'm like, listen, they're not all Poirier McGregor. All right. Like this is what it is. These are some mid-card guys that are getting a shot here. So I got Minor in this one. I think he's going to pull it out. Like you say, I think it's going to be a decision. I don't know that this is going to blow us away with anything, but I got Minor for the decision.
I mean, for that, just in and of itself, I'm going to go Charles Rosa here. I mean, just split with you 50-50. Although I do think Derek Minner has fought better opponents, I just don't know if they're going to go the distance like I think they are. I think Charles Rosa is just going to be able to pick them apart a little bit better, just because I think he's a better striker. But like you said, this is one of those fights where you're just like, it's so close to call, which is what we see for these first couple of fights. Moving on to our co-main event, Catalan Vieira versus Jana. Kunaskia. I don't know how to say that last name.
Kunaskia.
Close enough. I mean, I listen, guys. I put this in my notes, and I tried to spell it like a child would spell it, and I tried. I really did try, guys. All right. Jana is a smothering fighter. She likes to put girls on the cage and just grind them to the very end, wears them out, and then she just puts a beating on them after that first round, just smothers them, gets them tired. She's going up against Catalan, who is a decent striker. She's decent on the ground. I think she's overall a better technical fighter. But my biggest thing here is I think Catalan is stronger than most of the girls that Jana has faced so far. So I don't know that Jana is going to be able to push her against the cage the entire match and smother her. I think Catalan's going to take control of that center of the octagon, not get caught against the fence. I'm going to go Catalan here. I just don't think she can be pushed around like Jana's pushed everybody else.
Well, if there's a theme to this card at all, it's styles make fights. And if you're going to say it, you're going to say it 1,000 times. I think that Jana, that smothering style is just so tough for people to deal with. And it brings on so much. I mean, look at last week. Usman just smothers people to death. He did it against Woodley. He did it against Colby. He did it against Burns, where you're never away from him. And I think that because the takedown is there, because that shoot in, drive you back to the fence, it is going to be there. And you do have, like Helen, she's probably a better technical striker.
Yeah.
And when you are a more technical striker, there are times where you do get pushed back. You're looking for that perfect shot. You're going to feint back a little bit. You're going to have the opportunity for Jana to drive you back. And once you get against that cage, the clinch is just going to come, and it's just going to be a beating from there. I got Jana in this. I think this has a chance to get stopped early.
Yeah, I think either way this fight goes, I don't see it going past the second round. I'm with you.
Yeah.
One of these girls is getting finished in the second round. That is interesting what you were talking about, how Usman, and of course we all know what happened, retained the championship against Burns. Everybody thought Burns was going to be able to control the center of the octagon. They thought Burns was going to be the one pushing and the aggressor. Usman was just too good. He seemed like he was just too strong for him. Kept pushing him back, kept smothering him in the clinch. Usman is one of the best in all of the MMA world at just being in the clinch and being able to score points, because that's what he does. Usman is not somebody that's going to come out there and knock you out 15 times. But I mean,
listen, you don't want to get in front of that jab.
That
good night. That jab was
this past fight. I thought he looked a lot better than I've seen him in recent fights.
Yeah,
he looked, and I don't know if it was extra motivation because Burns used to, they used to spar together, used to be training partners. So I don't know if it was like hey, I've got to give you everything I've got, to finally make a point or what. But he just looks like he's getting better and better by each fight. It was an incredible feat last week. Yeah. So I'll go Catalan here, and I promise, guys, this is not planned. We didn't try and go 50-50 the whole way down the card. But if there was ever a 50-50 card, that is exactly what this is. And that brings us to the main event. Derek Lewis, one of my all-time favorite MMA fighters. Really fell in love with this guy in his world-famous interview. I think all of you know what that is. Just type in Derek Lewis post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and it will be a fantastic day for you. Actually, that's a quick little plug here for TikTok. That interview will be on my TikTok tomorrow. So right as you're watching Puncher's Chance, after that, hop over to the Locker Room 22 on TikTok. Check out some of our videos because that's going to be dropping for you. Anyways, let's get to Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades. Steve, I'm going to go to you first on this one, man. What do you got?
This is probably the biggest indictment against Derek Lewis ever. As of right now, as of time of recording this, Curtis Blades is a minus 400 favorite. If we're putting this in a perspective for you, that means that you would have to spend $400 to make $100 if you were to bet on Curtis Blades. This is the definition of style makes fights. You have Curtis Blades, who is a super accomplished wrestler collegiately, I believe Olympically as well. Yeah. You have Derek Lewis, who is nothing but a power puncher if there has ever been one. If this man has a breath in his body, you have a chance to get knocked out. But when he fought DC, the formula was there. DC got touched one time with that hand and said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this guy down right now. I'm done screwing around." And DC is a guy who likes to box, who likes to entertain some stand-up. Derek Lewis is not. Derek Lewis is the definition of boring fight. Yeah. He will take you down 200 times in a match if he can. but he's also one of those dudes, like, he's running out of guys to fight. This heavyweight division is just been strangleholded by the DC Stipe, you know,
Stipe Nagano. That's about the three names that have been around.
Curtis Blades' losses are to Francis Ngannou. Like, so he's one of those guys that has fought everybody up to this point. His only losses are to the guy who's waiting to fight everybody else up to this point.
Yeah.
So this is really the only fight to make. I think this is a big chance for Curtis Blades to put on another wrestling clinic and take Derek Lewis down. He's talked about openly that when he gets in there with these big power punchers, it's real easy for him to get on their hips because they're just opening up and swinging.
Yeah.
The only possible excitement that I have for this fight is if you go back to the Conor Khabib fight.
Okay.
Conor got rocked.
Yeah.
Because his hands were so low trying to get ready to defend that takedown. If Derek Lewis's hands are low, there is a possibility that Blades comes in and tries to catch him with something.
Yeah.
But if I were Blades, I would just take him down 100 times.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I'm Curtis Blades, I'm going safe here. I'm going to literally, the second that bell rings. Now, it might be a boring fight for most people, but it's a smart way to fight. Take him down every single chance that you get. Smother him on the ground, score your points, get out of there with a victory. Because like you said, I mean, Curtis Blades is losing to some of the best guys in this division, and we're about to see Ngannou and Stipe very soon. So there might be a new belt holder or a belt retainer. And then if John Jones, and we'll talk about that in just a second to finish up the show, but now you have John Jones in the mix. Curtis Blades is right in that pathway of, if he gets a big win over Derek Lewis, who has had some big victories as of late, I mean, that's a way to push himself to the top. Derek Lewis, like you said, he's the definition of a boring fighter. He's the definition of a puncher's chance. I have seen Derek Lewis literally knock guys out with 6 and 7 seconds left to go.
Volkov.
I was just about to say, Volkov, his last fight was, I think it was 5 seconds left on the clock. He hits him with that big right hand. Next thing you know, fight's over. So it's one of those things that, like, I can never count Derek Lewis out of a fight, because when you have that much power that you can knock somebody out with 5 seconds to go in a fight, it's hard to not count you in that fight.
Now, I will say the knock on Blades is he is a fantastic wrestler.
Yes.
But the difference between him, his wrestling, and someone like a Khabib or even like a Damian Maia with jiu-jitsu is he's going to take you down and he's going to work on maybe trying to get a little bit ground and pound.
Yeah.
But like, he is not the guy who is going to be a wizard on the ground looking for all these crazy submissions. He is not an Alexi Olynyk, who Derek Lewis was able to fend off his takedown, or some of his takedowns and some of his submission attempts. Derek Lewis has a real chance on the ground. He is Texas's self-proclaimed best blue belt in the game. So it's one of those, he's got a shot on the ground, and if he can get Blades up, or if he could fight off a few takedowns, maybe throw a knee up and really keep it honest, he's got a real shot. It's just one of those, it's hard to bet against the guy who's going to take you down 1,000 times.
I mean, Curtis Blades is the far superior grappler, the far superior wrestler. And like you said, if Derek Lewis can make him stay honest, that's what everybody kept saying about like whoever Khabib faced. They're like, can they keep Khabib honest? And we did see. I mean, we saw Khabib get caught by Justin Gaethje a couple times in their
with those
fight,
leg kicks.
Because Khabib was automatically looking for that shoot. Leg kick. Next thing you know, Justin came with an overhand. Next thing you know, Khabib's rocked a little bit. If it wasn't for the simple fact that Gaethje burned himself out with all the energy he just poured out in that first round, so worried about a takedown, I think Justin Gaethje would have had a real shot. Now, granted, Khabib is going to get down to the ground either way, and who knows? That's the problem. You just never know with Khabib, and hopefully he doesn't go away long enough to where you don't get to know. But that's the same thing with Curtis Blades. He's somebody that if Derek Lewis can keep him honest, like you said, throw a knee, catch him with an elbow when he's trying to come in for a shoot. Next thing you know, now it's an honest, it's going to be an honest stand-up fight after the match. And if it's a stand-up fight, I'm going to pick Lewis every single time just because of his power. This is a fight that Curtis Blades should win. I'm picking Curtis Blades to win, but at the same time, I'm not going to be mad whatsoever if Derek Lewis pulls it off. I just love the guy. He's awesome.
Well, and neither one of these guys is necessarily known for their gas tank. So this being a 5-round fight, I think it leans towards Curtis Blades, who's a little younger, his fight style is going to have a little bit more time reserved on the ground. But I mean, to hold off Derek Lewis that whole time, he's going to burn up so much energy. I just think that this is Curtis's fight to lose.
Yeah.
But like you say, if Derek were to come up with a big shot and knock him out, I'd be the first one standing up and cheering in my basement. So I mean, it's hard to bet against them in this, and I do think that whoever wins this is going to sit back and start waiting.
Yeah.
You know, because you're waiting to see who's going to win in the Ngannou-Stipe matchup, and you're going to wait and see what Jon Jones is up to. You're going to be sitting back just holding court.
Yeah, like you said, whoever wins this, and that's something that Dana White has been asked a couple of times this week. He said, whoever wins this fight, are they going straight to a title fight after we get the Ngannou-Stipe? Or do you think that this is where Jon Jones slides in really nicely? He can come in there, fight the number 2 guy behind, or the runner up behind the title fight, and then work his way into a title fight.
Yeah, I think that this is, if I were Jon, I'd want a tune-up fight at heavyweight.
Yeah, I would too.
I don't think either one of these guys. I mean, here's the thing: Stipe boxing, Ngannou is got the touch of God in his hands. So really, if you're Jon, you're looking for Derek Lewis to win this. So you get a nice touch up against another striker in the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
If he has to face Curtis Blades, it's going to be a long day for Curtis Blades because Jon's just as good as wrestler. Oh, and he's a murderer in the ring. He also is something that no one's seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, think about DC. What Jon Jones did to DC, a world-class wrestler. Like, people don't understand how good DC is, Daniel Cormier. Like, I was one of those guys who never really bought in. I was like, man, who's this DC guy? And after, like, really paying attention to what that guy did, not only in the sport, but what he did as just an all-around athlete, like, one of the greatest to ever do it. And Jon Jones made him look like a fool at one point.
Took him down. Took down DC. You know, I mean, that's the thing is Jon is good enough to beat you in your own game.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what your game is.
Yeah.
Like, you're a striker? Cool. Didn't train for Gustafsson. Gustafsson is one of the top light heavyweights ever.
Yeah.
Didn't train, had a close decision, came back the next fight and destroyed him. Right now, Jon is motivated. He is clean.
Yeah.
And he is at 240 right now is the latest inside scoop. Let's just say Jon's looking beefy, and he is something that his heavyweight division's never seen before.
Yeah, I follow Jon Jones on Instagram, and if you look at this man squatting and benching now, like, he doesn't even look like the same person. Like, he looks like a freak of nature. I'm excited to see Jon Jones in the heavyweight. I think that Jon Jones is going to try and get the belt. I think if he does get the belt, he might have maybe one title contending or, title defense. Other than that, I think Jon Jones wants that one more notch in the belt, and I think he might call it quits. He's already said he wants a few more fights for the fans. So hopefully we get Jon Jones at some point at the end of this year would be incredible.
My prediction, so if Stipe beats Francis, I think that Stipe is going to take another 6-7 months to kind of heal up and get recovered and get trained. Yeah. And it'll be a Stipe Jon Jones for the belt. And I think he'll be content to sit there and wait on Jon for the money fight.
Yeah.
If Francis does it, Francis is instantly going to call him out. I mean, Francis is probably the definition of mismanaged career.
Yeah.
He has just been stuck behind two legends for so long. And how can you not like Francis Ngannou? I mean, the dude's just a great guy.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be interesting to see exactly where that all plays out. I think that you're going to get an incredible fight out of either one.
Yeah.
I think that this weekend's main event has the potential to be either a top fight or a real low bottom one.
Yeah.
Dana's openly come out against Curtis Blades in his fighting style. And so I don't know, when Boss Man's talking about how he can't stand the way you're fighting and you're not proving anything to him, I think that if Derek Lewis win, he has a better shot at that title than Curtis does. But we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting weekend. Like you said, this is an ESPN Plus fight to the T, but it does have some potential here. I don't want people to think that, don't be discouraged to not watch it. Like, there are some diamonds in the rough here, and you could get some really fun matchups. It's a toss-up week. I mean, the margins are so close. The favorites are so close. It's pretty crazy. I hope that I get a Derek Lewis knockout in the last few seconds, and then I get a great post-fight press conference once again. But we will see. It's going to be a great fight night. Guys, March is on its way. And when I tell you we have puncher's chances coming just about, it seems like every day in March. I mean, I can't deny March is going to be incredible. So once again, we got a puncher's chance in the books. I'm glad that you all are enjoying it. March is going to be stacked. We've got a bunch of fights coming up. Listen, we've also got a Jake Paul fight that we're going to be talking about exclusively. All right, so don't miss that. Make sure you're following us on our social medias. Locker Room Podcast 615 on Instagram is the main hub for all the source of your information. Mr. Steve Hines, my awesome co-host, is also located on there as well. And we forgot to mention our wonderful friends at FNX Fitness. Go to FNXFitness.com.
Get beefy.
Steve's a gym guy. Steve's been losing weight, getting buff, getting big, and you know how he does it? Using FNX Fit products. Go to FNXFit.com for all your gym needs to make a bigger and better you. I mean, when you get 15% off of anything, why not take it, right?
You're going to take it. Exactly. And just order it, guys. All right. Listen, no USADA testing here. All right. So just get it all, just pee hot all day, get ripped, just do it.
And it's made here in the USA. So for those of you who are communists and don't want to go outside of this country, don't worry. It's made here in the beautiful USA. So get you a local product, support a local business, support a local podcast. All right, guys, we would love that. Thanks for watching. Punch Your Chance is in the books.
We'll see ya.